92, Johannes Trithemius. He was a Benedictine monk and he wrote a document in praise of scribes. Um, and another example was the factory production of textiles in England in the 1800s. And again, there were people who were tailors or who would sew and were worried that factories producing textiles and clothes were going to put them out of business. They were worried about the dangerous working conditions of a factory as opposed to someone slowly working on things by hand. And they had a lot of documents they wrote against the textile factories in the 1800s. They had they made up a person who was the hero of some of these stories that they were writing, and the name of that person was Ned Ludd, and that's where the term Luddites comes from. Luddites is a term for people who are technophobes. And so both of those are examples where violence occurred, but there's also lots of other examples of technology changing the world. Think of the internet changing the world. What that has enabled, or Model T cars when cars were previously owned by a few few rich people who owned a car, but now with the Model T on the production line, more people had cars and now almost pretty much everyone's got a car in our country. So there's a lot of fear of change when technology changes, and AI is changing things faster than a lot of other technologies have ever before. So we're not sure where this is going. But if we could look at the last slide, I have a little example to work on. The last slide lists three different tools. So that the quote is the quote from the document that Pope Leo wrote, technology is never neutral. And prior to that quote, I used to think technology is just technology and it's up to the person using it to use it for good or evil or something in the middle. But when I thought about what Pope Leo wrote, I thought about it more and I realized he actually is right. There is there is some sort of slant somewhere on the continuum between a great benefit to society and harmful to society, that every tool somewhere falls on that spectrum. So think of a hammer, and as it can be used for good to build a house or to repair anything around your house, but you can also conk someone over the head with a hammer, and that would be a bad use of a hammer. Then you compare that to a gun. I don't want to get into the whole Second Amendment argument, but guns can be used very violently for very evil things. But some people argue that they're useful to have around for hunting or self-defense. And then another example is cars. So think about which of these three, how you would rank these three from most beneficial to society to humans to least. And you would think the first initial impression may be cars are really useful. I can get to work, I can visit my friends, I can visit my family, I can move things from one place to another with a car. So you think transportation is really good, but then you think about all the pollution that's caused and global warming that's caused by the exhaust from cars. Most cars run on gasoline with motor oil as well. And seem to be a lot of wars fought in countries that have access to a lot of gas and oil. So you can argue the benefit of cars can be really bad for society as well. So how do we decide how to appropriately use each of these tools? And I'm not going to give you an answer right now because that's what this document does. The document doesn't say hammers are bad or hammers are good, or AI is bad or AI is good. But the document lays out a framework for reasoning about and understanding how to answer these big questions that we come up with as we deal with technology, whatever technology we're dealing with. AI is in the title, but the document's not a lot about AI specifically. It's about how to lead a good life while living in the modern world. And so that's all. That's where I want to leave it for now as an introduction, as we have two speakers coming up who will hopefully move the discussion along further down the path of an understanding of how we can reason about the situations and questions that will arise.
Thank you, David. We do appreciate your comments. Take a minute right now and just review in your head what you heard Dave say. Is there one thing we're going to go to a discussion after Michelle speaks, but is there one thing you want to remember from what David just was talking about? Our next, David talked about having a framework for which to look through everything. And the beauty of our church is that we have an immense history of Catholic social teaching that provides for us a framework as to how to look at the things that are going on in our world and in our lives in our society. Michelle is here to talk about that. Michelle, again, comes from the Maryland Catholic Conference. I'll let Michelle say a little bit more about herself, and then she's going to speak about the Catholic social teaching, Catholic social justice issues presented in this document. Michelle?
Hello, everyone. I apologize for coming in and out of the screen. I was having my own technological issues, but I'm happy for you guys to be joining us today. As Scott mentioned, I'm Michelle Zelaya. I'm from the Maryland Catholic Conference. I represent their social and economic justice issues on behalf of the state of Maryland. So thank you guys again for joining us. And similar to what David was mentioning early, there's a lot of great things about technology that we can use and utilize in our everyday life. But of course, with proper discernment, we also have to take into consideration the harms that technology also has to offer. Scott, do you think that you could please share my PowerPoint slides?
Yes, ma'am.
Thank you.
That's you, Michelle. Is that correct?
No, I think it's a different one.
Okay.
Or no, actually, yes, it is. It is. Sorry. So just to start off with the first quote, I took from the second chapter. It reads, "Where the wealth of nations depends increasingly on the knowledge and technology, when these goods remain concentrated in the hands of a few, without adequate forms of sharing and access, a new imbalance is created that contradicts the universal destination of goods. In turns, it widens the gap between the included and excluded, between those who can participate in the digital revolution and those who remain on the margin." I wanted to particularly point out this quote just because of how important it is, but also to kind of draw in the comparisons between what was issued in the first chapter when they mentioned the Tower of Babel and the rebuilding of Jerusalem. Because in these two images, you can see the development and also the destruction of a society when it isn't using discernment. And I think that's super important because when we look at AI, it's definitely something to take into consideration because, like David mentioned earlier, we used to be scared of the era of smartphones, but now I'm pretty sure we all use a smartphone. So it's just in terms of adapting and kind of contributing to what's the common good in those areas. And I think that within AI, people use it for great in terms of doing more work and being more productive, but they also use it for harms in ways that it can hurt children, it could hurt our elderly. So there's definitely a lot of awareness that we need to do when using AI, specifically in terms of just the difference, good and evils. But of course, we can't look at it in a yes or no aspect too, because this is just the development of our era that we're indulging in. And I think it's important for us to be careful, but also to not be so scared of the development that is within AI, but mostly just to maneuver in a way that we're having proper conversations so that we're not excluded from the conversations that are happening. And then in my second highlight, I wanted to highlight the quote from chapter 2 that says, "He thus teaches us that justice is born from and fulfilled in fraternity, because the way we approach and relate to the least among us becomes, in concrete terms, the measure of our relationship with God and with our brothers and sisters. Justice, however, concerns not only the behavior of individuals, but also the way in which the structures of society are conceived and organized. I really wanted to point out this quote mainly because I think a lot of times when people think about the development of artificial intelligence, sometimes they say, that's not my problem. But unfortunately, it is embedded in all of us, and we are all interconnected in the forms of the development within AI. Because if it's not affecting you directly, it may be affecting your niece or your nephew or a neighbor that we know. And I think that makes us interconnected in terms of the dangers within AI too, which means that we have to be more involved more than ever. And justice comes from a lot of ways, whether it's community or, as we're going to mention earlier within Catholic social teaching, between subsidiarity, which is the form of advocating from the most local level. And the most local level is contributing to aspects like this, being in community, engaging in the conversation, and diving into what's important. Because ultimately, we're not all going to agree on what we're supposed to do, but the beginning starts with having a conversation on how we should handle things. But if we're not included in the conversations, then our opinions are not presented in the way where we can even reach a compromise or even include the conversations about what are so concerning to us within AI. Because I think that right now we're kind of creating a world within I love AI or I hate AI. And I think that we need to come in the middle to see what it could do for everyone. And I wanted to share this because justice is built in fraternity. It's built in community. It's built within all of us. And we need to be a part of the conversations and be involved because if we're not, then unfortunately we're either included or excluded. But those were a little bit of my points that I wanted to share with the group. And I hope to continue with the sessions and learn from each and every one of you.
Thank you very much, Michelle. Appreciate your comments. Okay, we're coming to the small group time. So here's the basic rules. Again, don't occupy all the time. We're going to give you a set amount of time. We're going to give you 2 questions. Here they come. What is a technology? Speaking of technology, what is a technology that's helped you live out a faith that does justice? What technologies do we use already to seek justice? Second question is, what are the challenges in addressing the common good that as new technologies reconfigure our social structures? Okay. AI and technologies are changing the way we interact with one another. And that's always been true of technology. But what is different now? Those are the 2 questions. They'll pop up in your conversation. They'll pop up in your chat spaces as you're having a conversation. We are at 7:26 right now, and we're going to call you back at 7:32, 16 minutes. Okay? So we're about to send you off to group. Have a good conversation. Try to see if you can grab a nugget that you may want to share with a large group. If you've discovered something in your conversation, we love to hear it. So there's our small groups, and the rooms are open.
Yes, we're.
Oh, let me turn this. Undo our video.
Oh, are we?
Yeah.
We back. We're back.
There we go.
Yeah.
we have now.
I guess we take ourselves out. Hi, Maria.
Hi, Harriet.
So this would be a good time for everybody to mute their microphones again, just as a reminder.
Did you mute it? Oh, no, I'm not.
If you have something you'd like to say, just try to take the initiative and see if you can make a short comment or two about what we've heard so far.
I can say three things important that came out of our group.
Yes, ma'am.
One is the challenge for old people who do not have access to technology and therefore excluded from many aspects of life. One is the incredible importance of some new technologies in including people in developing poor societies like the cell phone. And a third is the issue of who is actually driving these technologies. And they are the financial people, the technology savants. They're not necessarily people who have any concern for social justice. And so the technology is not neutral. That's all I have to say.
Thank you, Sarah. Anybody else?
I had something, Scott, just
Go
real
ahead, please.
quick. AI, while I did not have really positive feelings about it, I was trying to help a young man that was in prison and had no idea where to help him. He was being attacked by different gang members. And I just sort of thought, well, just type this in. Maybe I can get some kind of information. I not only got an information about who to contact about it, they said, would you like a form letter? And I said, well, that would be nice. What organizations would you like to know of the help organizations in the area that work on this? That would be good too. What about the politicians that are in the area and their information? That would also be great. So I was able to actually contact those people to get help for this young man, and I had no idea where to start. So that was a positive experience for me with that.
Thank you, Marge. AI helped you do justice. Anybody else?
Yeah, I
Yes,
wanted
Maggie.
to, but am I, yeah.
You're good.
So Maria said something, which is that we were talking about misinformation in AI and how, it's important to know the source. And because you can get so much misinformation when you're utilizing computers and the like. And she made a comment that we can actually influence the people who provide our things to have them cut out some of the misinformation that we receive every day. And so I thought that was very curious to think, how do we do that? Jokingly, I will tell you, I saw President Trump dressed as Barbie taking a little walk today, and I'm pretty sure that was fake. But like, how did that get into my AI? I mean, how did they get into my social media? I don't know, but I think it would be nice to not have that stuff.
Now I've got to delete all my pictures of myself in Barbie outfits. That's a shame. Anybody else?
Quickly summarizing our discussion, we were thinking about technology and how it influences our faith lives. And three different people mentioned different apps they have on their phones and how helpful that has been to them on their individual journey. So it was interesting that all three of them came up with a different app, which are all part of social media, while social media is often criticized for the many harms that it does to society in many ways. So it's a technology that's not neutral, but depending on how it's used, can be used for great good, like all of the people in my group were explaining, but can also cause damage to a lot of people. So I thought it was an interesting discussion in our group.
So, Dave, I imagine at least one of your folks was talking about a program called Hallow, which helps people pray. And I had a sales call Monday. It was very impressive about how they use the technology to just lead people in prayer and also a wide variety of different ways. So it's different and exciting technology. Last person. Anybody else?
Yeah, on that same note, I use the Liturgy of the Hours for my
Yeah.
daily prayer.
Yeah.
And I've got a breviary, but it's retired to the bookshelf because I've got an app that has everything in there, and it's a lot better because it does away with all that ribbon juggling and all, which is kind of distracting, and it also has audio associated with it, so it's almost like you're actually praying in community, because you've got other voices that you pray along with.
Yeah. Thanks, Phil. Appreciate that. So we're going to go to our last speaker. Father Ryan is with us, and he's the associate pastor here at St. John's. He is a Missionhurst priest, and he's part of the 3 Missionhurst priests that have been assigned to our parish. And he does fascinating things, about some of which you're about to see in his PowerPoint. Father.
Oh, thank you so much, Scott. I also thank Dave and Michelle for providing the framework. But for us, people of faith, how do we approach or how this document will help us in our discernment, uh, especially that in our human quest, we have these 2 stories that describe our tendencies. One is could you provide the PowerPoint, Scott, if able? So one is the story of Babel, where the people tried to build a tower to heaven by their own strength to make a name for themselves. But God confused their language, scattered them, and showed that the true greatness comes only with humility and reliance on Him. The second story is of Nehemiah, who prayed, rallied the whole community, overcome opposition, rebuilt Jerusalem's broken walls in just 52 days. Through shared faith and hard work, they are called today to rebuild our world with God at the center and everyone participating and hope overcoming fear. So these are not merely ancient tales. They are the mirrors that hold up to the human heart in every generation. And especially at this very moment that we are in the same situation. So as we look first at Babel, to dissect a little bit more of the story, the people of the plain of Shinar looked at one another and said, "Come, let us build ourselves a city and a tower which top in the heavens, and let us make our name for ourselves." So notice the language. They describe ourselves, a name for ourselves. There is no mention of God, no prayer, no asking what the Lord desires. Only the hunger to rise by human power alone, to erase every limit, to create a unity that does not need the creator. They possess one language, one technology, one ambition, and for a moment it seems magnificent. But heaven is not reached by concrete and pride. God came down not in wrath that destroys, but in mercy that reveals. He confused their speech. Suddenly the builders could no longer understand one another. The great project collapsed into noise and scattering. What began as dream of unity ended in isolation. And what it began as a desire to make a name ended with no name at all. So this is the first tendency, my dear friends, of the human heart, the temptation to build without God, to treat technology as a ladder to divinity, to believe that if we gathered enough power, enough data, enough efficiency, we can save ourselves. Babel still rises in every age that confuses progress with salvation, control with wisdom, and self-exaltation with true greatness. Now, let us turn to the story of Nehemiah. Maybe some of you recall that story. Jerusalem's wall lay in ruins. The gates were burned. The people lived exposed, vulnerable, discouraged. News of this desolation reached a man far away, and his name is Nehemiah, a cupbearer in a foreign country. So what did he do first? He did not draft a plan. He did not gather resources. He did not issue commands. He sat down. He wept. He fasted and he prayed. Only after a prayer did he ask the king for permission, because he was the cupbearer. Only after a prayer did he ride out by night to inspect the broken stones in silence. Then after prayer, he stood before the people and said, "Come, let us rebuild the wall of Jerusalem, that we may no longer suffer disgrace." And the people answered, "Let us rise up and build." They did not build, they did not rebuild an isolation heroes. Every families took a section, priests worked beside merchants, artisans beside ordinary citizens, women and men, young and old, faced mockery, they faced threats, they worked with a tool in one hand and the readiness in the other. Yet in 52 days, the wall stood complete, not because one man was extraordinary, but because a community placed God at the center and shared the labor in hope. So, friends, this is the second tendency of the human heart. The one grace awakens the willingness to begin with prayer, to see ruins honestly, to invite everyone into the work, to endure opposition without losing heart, and to finish together under the gaze of God. So these are the two stories before us as a choice, as we reflected on, as the framework provided to us in this artificial intelligence and this technological power. The same paths open once more. We can choose Babel, build the towers efficiency that forget the human face, seek a name for ourselves through the system that reduce persons to data, chase limitless power while the vulnerable are left outside the walls. Or we can choose Nehemiah, begin every endeavor with prayer, look honestly at what is broken in our families, our communities, our digital world, call every person, the young, the elderly, the overlooked, the doubting, to take their section of the wall, face fear and opposition with courage rooted in God, and measure success not by speed or dominance, but by dignity restored and communion renewed. Pope Leo reminds us that humanity, God, that created by God, all its grandeur, faces a pivotal choice, either to construct a new Tower of Babel or to build the city in which God and humanity dwell together. So we see, my dear friends, that the choice is not abstract. The walls that truly matters are not made of stone, they are made of justice, of mercy, of human dignity protected, and of heart that still know how to pray and to serve. So in every age, just like we are in now, the decision stands before us. Whether we construct a new tower or rebuild the city with God and humanity dwell together, because we know that true greatness is found not in unlimited power, but in humility, shared responsibility, and fidelity to the one who alone can make all things new. So that is the the framework that has been provided for us for our discernment as people of faith.
It's so nice that our questions of discernment have poetic metaphors with which to capture our imagination and to get us to continue to think about what it is we're called to do. Um, we don't, we have poetic metaphors to help our discernment. So we're going to break you up and send you off to questions again. And the only question for the session is, as a society, how well do we do at rebuilding? Why? are we doing well, or why are we not doing well at rebuilding? What is the difference in our rebuilding if we place God at the center? These are the questions we're asking you to consider and think about, share, reflect. We got some stuff to talk about here, folks. Those are the questions. I can see them. We'll get them out. We'll get them in the chat to you as well right away. And we are sending you off to your meeting rooms right now.
I'm not ready to do it.
Recording.
Better turn on somebody else.
Do believe everybody's back. Please mute your microphone again, unless you would like to share. I'd like to invite a couple people to share news from their groups. If you've already shared in the earlier session, you've done good. Take a break. Other folks like to join in. What would you like to share from this evening?
I guess I'll go first. I would like to share like a lot. Our group had a lot of great points. I think a great point that was mentioned was the quality of work and the dangers that AI sometimes contributes to the quality of work, and how that's integrated with the dignity of the human person. Because if we're not careful enough, the aspects of technology can seep into areas that sometimes even affect our everyday lives. If people are watching a computer make errors and that's the essence of their job instead of talking to people, then that kind of plays for their dignity and kind of attributes to the fulfillment of their lives. So I thought that was a great point that we made.
Thanks, Michelle.
I think it's interesting from that point of view, right? Like in the Tower of Babel, everyone's focus is on building up this tower to get to God, right? It's not on each other, right? Just like our point of view might be on the screen or on the, or whatever we're trying to replace sort of that intimate human connection with. And I think, that is a tremendous challenge and danger, right? Like we talked in our group about, kind of like it's patchy how we're doing. Like in some ways we're doing very well, in some ways we're really not doing so well. And then, how do you, recognize that inequity and begin to build up the kingdom by, trying to, strive for the social justice, strive for, more inclusion and more good things for people all across the board.
Thank you, Liz.
One of the things that came up in our group was how there are a few people that are controlling access and controlling these big AI models, and there doesn't seem to be a way to counter that. And I didn't get to say this in the group, the time went too quickly, but I was thinking about that after it was said, and I came back to what Father Ryan said is, how often do we begin expecting that we will have the answers rather than beginning with prayer? And I think that's a big temptation for all of us. We're asked to respond and we want to quick do something, and we don't necessarily have that wisdom ourselves. And we see the need is really great, but it does seem overwhelming to counter some of the forces that are controlling things. And I think beginning with prayer is a good reminder.
Thank you, Susan. It's a matter of humility to begin with prayer. So thank you for sharing that. Last one. All right, excellent. Then let us close this evening. First and foremost, thanks for participating. So this is one of the things I really wanted to see what would it look like and what would it be like. We have 2 more sessions coming up. The next session is where all the meat of this is that. So we just got through all the introductory stuff. So the next session is chapters 3 and 4, and it's all the good stuff. So do come back and get some more of the good stuff. So I got a closing prayer for us. I will read it tonight, but I'm going to try to see if I can sucker somebody else into it next time. That's not the prayer, is it? Let's try again. Prayer. Share. That's a prayer. Yes, it is. And so we pray. Nomine Padre et Filio et Spiritus Sancto. Amen. Lord, we thank you for the magnificent humanity you have given us. Give us eyes to see, in this time of great machines, the splendor of the face of your Son who became flesh. Teach us not to fear the construction site of history, but to inhabit it with the wisdom of those who build communion. Dispel from us the pride of battle and help us always seek what unites us. Transform our hands into instruments of justice so that our earth may become a common home where love, truth, and peace can meet. And the church says,
Amen.
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 We had about 45, 50 people sign up for this. That's just the screens. We know we have quite a few couples in here. This is a lovely and great crowd, more than I possibly imagined being a part of this. So I hope that you found this to be a worthwhile discussion, and we'll come back next week and join us again. And feel free to invite somebody else to join you in watching this. And with that, we bid you a good evening. Good night, folks. Thanks.
Thank you.
Bye.
Thank you.
Very much.
Bye-bye. Thank you, Scott.
Good night,
Thank you.
Scott. Thank
Good
you.
night.
Thank you.
Thank you,
Okay,
everyone.
bye.
Thank
Bye.
you
Good
all.
night, everyone.
Great
Good
job,
night.
everyone. Thank you.
Thank
Thank
you.
you.
Thanks, Scott.
No
Everyone else.
problem. Thank you.
Mary Hirschfeld, Mary Otis, if you're still there, good to see you. Bye-bye.
Thank you so much, Scott.